Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's One Piece Treasure Cruise video we are going to do something slightly different. I will be reading and reacting to some of your comments from my video called Out of Touch, where I talked about the previous One Piece Treasure Cruise team letter and some of the bad decisions Bandai has been making recently for One Piece Treasure Cruise. This will be my first time going through these comments, by the way, and in case you haven't watched the video I'm referring to, it will be the first link in the description. In the background, we're also going to probably play either some co-op quests or have some pulls from the past. Let's begin though. Matthew here is saying, I love this game and I have to admit, unfortunately, it is getting worse and worse. Sucks, been playing for like a decade now. That is definitely a long time. And I also can definitely see the point of view that the game is getting worse and worse. As I have stated multiple times by now, after the 10th anniversary, I feel like so many bad decisions have been made, and I definitely know for a fact that a lot of these decisions have made the experience for me playing One Piece Treasure Cruise way worse and less enjoyable. And I'm not saying good decisions haven't been made, but the bad ones outweigh the good ones by a ton. Like for example, I get that the recent update of refreshing the Garp challenges and the Chopperman missions is great, right? First of all, more gems for everyone, and who doesn't love more gems? But the thing is, if we just consider the Pirating Adventures change that made the mode not only provide less rewards to players, but also made it have a time period, so 9 days to clear some specific Chopperman missions, and lower the drop rates of Hime Turtles. So overall, that change alone outweighs the positive changes, or some of them at least, that came with the new patch. And that's not because the new changes are not good, with the Chopperman missions for example, but the thing is, Pirating Adventures is part of the monthly cycle of events in One Piece Treasure Cruise. And that goes for all of the monthly modes. If something bad happens to Treasure Map, like the boosted list change, or Kizuna, right? That is something we have to deal with every single month. It's not the same as, let's say, they made a bad decision and a bad boosted list for one Blitz battle. That Blitz battle will be here for 2 to 3 days, still a bad decision, don't get me wrong, but then we won't have to deal with it again. But if they make Treasure Map way worse, because it is in the monthly cycle, we have to deal with that every single month. That is exactly what I mean by decisions outweighing some others. And the bad ones right now, unfortunately, definitely outweigh the good ones. The next comment comes from Andrew, who is saying, I always follow you from Italy. Thank you very much for the support, cheers to Italy. And now it is 8 in the morning here and I am going to work. Hey, at least I could keep you some company on your way to work. I have been playing One Piece Treasure Cruise for more than 9 years, so another long time player. I would really like to give the LB level to characters like Brownbeard, Colosseum, or to other characters who are not in the collection. Do you think they won't put them anymore? Thank you so much for your videos. Thank you so much for the support, Andrew. I have seen a lot of your comments. And my answer to your question is, I don't really think they will put very old characters that they haven't already in the collection archive. And generally, it's not a great idea to waste your resources on them, except if you find yourself in a situation where you think you really need that unit maxed out in order to clear a specific quest, even if that quest is an older one. And the reason I wouldn't advise you to waste your resources is simply because everything is so locked around the boosted list these days, because Bandai wants you to pull for new units, that very old units are rarely being used, especially if they don't have a very good support or special. If someone is a collector and you want to have everything maxed out in your box, you do you of course, but I am talking strictly about resource management here. And of course, even though I don't think all of a sudden they will start putting units that are very old in the recollection archive, even though that is technically what it is designed for. Of course, I cannot speak on behalf of Bandai and what their plans are with the recollection archive because I simply do not know. But simply based on their track record with the archive so far, which, let's be honest, it is not the best, I don't really think a lot of older units will just all of a sudden start getting added. The next comment is from Apollo. Returning players and new players are so screwed if they don't come back in a Super Sugo Fest. Pretty true, because at this point in the game everyone and their mama is essentially saving for Super Sugofests, because at the end of the day these Sugofests have the best and most important characters for someone to own in the game. The rates and gem accumulation are bad, and I do agree about the rates, they are not the best in majority of Sugofests. As far as gems go, I don't really think it is the worst possible scenario gacha game wise, but if we consider how many Sugofests are coming out, and essentially where Bandai wants us to pull in every new event, yeah, the gems we get are essentially nothing, because if you are a new player and you think you want to spend, or you need to spend, every new pirating adventures, every new treasure map, every new Kizuna, every new Blitz battle, every new Super Sugofest, every new anniversary or whatever, then yeah, the gems are obviously then not enough. That structure in the game exists, so you actually spend money to get gems. For free-to-play gems, a lot of players just need to understand that you won't be having a chance at every new legend or unit that is coming out. That is simply a fact. But I feel like that is more of a gacha game thing as well, it is not just specific to One Piece Treasure Cruise. I think the knowledge of better gem management also comes with experience and understanding of the game, so you know what you need to pull for and what you don't really care of actually pulling. But maybe someone wants to just be pulling for fun, for units or characters they like, so that is also an alternative way of thinking. But overall, I would say that you said it yourself in your comment, if you are a newer or returning player, just save your gems for the next Super Sugofest. Generally, some of the best advice you can get as far as gem management goes in the game. To continue with the comment, it takes 13 steps to get the featured unit. I'm not sure what you mean by that, because if you mean the new legend guaranteed, you need either 25 or 30 steps, definitely not 13. And most of the legends are near worthless, as the new mechanics require fairly recent legends and Super Sugo legends to do the mechanics. That's fair, that is also the nature of the game. So new mechanics are getting introduced, obviously the new legend will be helping you deal with the mechanic. Because if you pull the new legend, you want the unit to help you with that. A lot of the time it's a huge problem if the mechanic is extremely annoying to deal with, and only the new legend can deal with it. Some examples are the pre-worldwide anniversary Saibo Hancock legend that can deal with pain, and even more recently actually, in the past Kizuna, we saw it with the new legend Brook, the only unit in the game that can deal with silence. And yes, other units will be able to help you find another workaround, not exactly remove the debuff, like for example Shirahoshi Manseri instead of Boa Hancock, or Toki instead of Brook. But you won't completely remove the debuff, and if you are missing these other alternatives, especially if they are Super Sugofest units, then yeah, you're screwed in a lot of situations, and that is another thing that newer or returning players have to accept. You can't always clear every new quest at the highest difficulty. If you can't, I always advise newer players especially to just play lower difficulties, try to take as many rewards as possible. But something that has been happening a lot more recently actually, is they are trying to limit you from only using the new legend as a friend captain, so not pulling for the new legend but using them as a friend captain. By the way they are applying debuffs during the quest, they might bind the new legend for example, so their captain ability of removing special bind does not apply. Or for example, with Brook, they silenced the left column specifically, so Brook gets the silence and then he can't remove it from the left column units. So you need to have your own Brook if you want to easily deal with that. And especially with the Memories of the Straw Hats legend line, I have been seeing a lot of that. So hopefully they don't make it more intense with upcoming units, because especially if they are Super Sugofests, a lot of players will have issues with clearing quests, that's for sure, and especially if they don't have very well developed boxes and they are not veteran players. Going to the next comment though, we have Dio Angelo Cruz. Just like Dex Jack in the collection archive, also in the PKA shop, stupid idea. Well, yeah, a lot of the initial point event units that were available in the Recollection Archive became available through the Pirating Adventures shop simply because essentially the point events became Pirating Adventures. That's why every point event unit is boosted during Pirating Adventures and also is available through the Pirating Adventures shop. But they were put in the Recollection Archive before the introduction of the Pirating Adventures. That's why some of the units are duplicates. But obviously do not waste your tickets on these units, just farm them from the Recollection Archive. The next comment is coming from NL himself. It feels like they are trying to get us to stop playing, but we haven't, so they just keep trying harder. With announcements like Super Treasure Map, I might have to agree with this comment. Like a lot of the times, some of the bad changes are like so bad and out of the blue that, and they also make no sense, that you can't really help it but think this way. Next up we have a comment from Vinicius. The OPTC dev team does not improve existing modes, they only make it worse and worse. Lately 100%, but they have tried to improve existing modes. Some of the improvements, quote unquote, they try to deliver are also not really the improvements we need. That is also a thing, right? For example, let's say the cards in Treasure Map. Yeah, cool, I can get up to navigation levels, I have more interaction with the map maybe, I have a 30% chance to move 2 spots. I'm not the biggest fan, I would say, right? So I would much prefer, for example, to have a better boosted list each month than having these cards. But I guess the cards are also cool, some people might really like them. The changes on the map with the coin tree, for example, that's a good change I believe, but at the same time they have reduced the multipliers over the year of mini bosses so much that at this point it's better for me to get on the tree, to get coins from there, than playing a mini boss. And a lot of the times I feel like even though they say they listen to feedback, they don't really focus on providing improvements based on the feedback we as players have provided to them. And to be 100% clear here, I am not talking about delusional and out of this world feedback and demands or requests, like for example the new legend should not play a role at all in the new treasure map. Obviously, if a new treasure map legend is coming out, it will be the highest boosted unit and it will also help you if you pull it. It only makes sense. So I'm not talking about feedback that is delusional like that, but something like improving the map or having better chances, for example, to get the bird when the bird was not available to get in every single navigation level back in the day. That change was extremely positive because getting the bird to increase your multiplier of treasure coins only in the bonus map was absolutely dumb. Thankfully they listened and brought it back. Let's continue with the comment. At the very least they do QOL improvements. They do, and I feel like sometimes they also need to, because we are playing a very outdated game, so it definitely needs to be modernized a bit. Like for example the menus for the Chopperman missions when you were entering the game before the latest update, they were horrible. They were also lagging your time to get into the game because of the menu popping up separately. Now it's way cleaner. With every passing month, it just makes it more believable to imagine that the game may be reaching its limits, and it is not that crazy to imagine it ending. But it still does well in anniversary and other celebrations. Well, I definitely agree with the final part. During the 10th anniversary, for example, a lot of casual players, or just a lot of One Piece fans, downloaded the game, logged in, pulled for the new units, maybe even spent some money, and then never played the game again. Like, a casual player that will return for a celebration will definitely not have the problems we do by playing the game more, simply because they don't care about the next treasure map, so they won't be bothered by the smaller boosted list, for example. With the other part of the comment saying it's not crazy to imagine the game ending, I think it kind of is. Like, I would be extremely surprised if Bandai came out tomorrow and said we're closing down the game in 2 months. So yeah, I can't see the game ending. First of all, One Piece is one of the biggest names in the entire planet as far as IPs go, so I can't see the game ending before One Piece does. And that is not because the game is flawless, that is not because I believe the game is extremely successful. It's nowhere near as successful as other gacha games. It is not even as successful as One Piece Bounty Rush. Nowhere near as successful to even other Bandai titles for gacha games like the Dragon Ball games, and of course not in the same realm as Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, or even the newer Wuthering Waves. But even though the revenue cannot be compared with the out of this world revenue these games have, for Bandai to keep it afloat, I guess they think that for the effort, funds, and generally resources they put into One Piece Treasure Cruise, the return in revenue must be okay, otherwise I guess the game would have closed years ago. But it keeps going, and at the end of the day One Piece is extremely popular, One Piece sells, so I don't really see the game ending before One Piece does. The next comment comes from Jaruso. I'm really sorry if I'm butchering your names, by the way. It's so sad, but they are making the game unplayable if you don't get the new characters. I don't think it is exactly unplayable, it is definitely harder the less developed your box is. But if they keep trying to limit us from using the new legend only as friend captain to clear quests, then I would say this would become more true, for sure, but hopefully they don't keep doing that with the upcoming batches. Next up, we have a comment from Trunks IRL, so a Dragon Ball fan playing a One Piece game. As a casual enjoyer, I just accept the fact that I do not get all the rewards, can't clear all quests nor bosses. And this is exactly the mindset you should have as a casual player, not just for One Piece Treasure Cruise mind you, but pretty much for every gacha game in existence. But if even whales struggle, yeah, that's a bit too much. 100% agree. Like, for a casual player to complain that they cannot really get all of the rewards in 9 days from pirating adventures if they play once a week, for example, let's say, or 2 times a week, or whenever maybe a new interesting character comes around, doesn't really make sense, right? They shouldn't really be expected to get all of the rewards possible, especially the time limited ones. But if whales cannot get all of the rewards from pirating adventures, you know you messed up as a company making changes to the mode. Jack says, I stopped playing ever since they released co-op. That mode is unplayable and so annoying. Everything after that is just getting less and less playable. Yeah, I can definitely understand where you're coming from, especially when they are trying to hype co-op and then they deliver an unfinished product and mode. This comment would also be extremely ironic if I actually put some co-op quest gameplay in the background of this video, but yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. The next comment is coming from Mas. Arena Devon came out on the 8th anniversary and is still not in the recollection archive. Yeah, this is simply insane. They can't just put Katarina Devon in the recollection archive for every player that started playing after the 8th anniversary. To get here, is it that hard to do? We have to downgrade Pirating Adventures first, I guess, and I don't really think Katarina Devon is ever coming at this point. It will be a miracle if we ever see her or even Arena Reiju in the recollection archive. It is simply unacceptable as well. It's like a joke that they haven't put these units in the archive. That is the exact reason they introduced the archive in the first place. And for the final 2 comments, we have one coming from Not So Fun. Pretty fitting name. I feel this game is going to shut down soon. They are making it unplayable and focusing on new Sugo only. What a shame, to be honest. Love your vids, keep it up. Thank you so much for the support, I really appreciate it. And I do agree, maybe they are focusing a little too much on selling new Sugo Fests and new characters, because to do that, I get making the new quests revolving around the new units. That makes sense, that will always be the case with One Piece Treasure Cruise. But downgrading a mode to the ground just so players pull for the new legend, and then even if they do, they are still not guaranteed to get all of the rewards relatively easily from the mode, then yeah, we have a problem. It's pretty obvious, I think. As I mentioned before though, I don't think the game is shutting down soon. Generally, I think people say or think that way because they lose interest in the game. So because they lose interest, they drift away from the game, they think the game is shutting down all of a sudden. And I have to say this, there has been a huge loss of interest from a lot of players after the 10th anniversary. I have seen and experienced it as a content creator, and I have also seen many people express their feelings of dissatisfaction with a lot of bad changes and the co-op quests as well, for example, after the 10th anniversary, and even during it. No one can expect One Piece Treasure Cruise to replicate the hype and the peak of interest that we saw with the Sugo Fest of the 10th anniversary, but after that I feel like we have seen a lot of downgrades that were unnecessary as well, and that has also made a lot of players to either quit, lose interest, or simply play less One Piece Treasure Cruise. And the final comment is coming from Nicholas. He's essentially answering to Not So Fun. Everyone has been saying that for the past 5 years and it hasn't happened. I don't think it is going to shut down because some people don't like the state of the game. It is going to shut down if it is not profitable anymore, or if Bandai wants to move the funds to another project, or One Piece ends and the game is not sustainable anymore. So do I think the game is losing interest rapidly after the 10th anniversary? Yes. Do I think it is shutting down very soon? No, I don't. These were all of your comments in my video. If you want to leave more for this one, for another discussion similar to this one, feel free to do so with whatever topic you want to talk about. You can also let me know of your opinion based on the things we discussed in this video as well. And if you enjoyed this type of video, definitely leave a like to let me know. I would really appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.